Hello everyone, this is Daniel from international atmospheric doom death metal band Clouds, and you are listening to the Bloodshed Show for Metal Messiah Radio with The Vampire.
Daniel, thank you very much for taking time out for this interview, and it's a very great honor to have you here on the Bloodshed with The Vampire on Metal Messiah Radio International.
It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Daniel, it's been so long that we tried, to get together to do this interview, but I know time has been quite hard for you or very busy these last months, but I'm very happy to have you here.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here as well. And yes, I know we were planning this for quite a couple of months now. And indeed, time is not really a good friend, especially when you have so many things to do besides the music. You have to take care of the family and you have to take care of other extracurricular sort of activities. Yeah, finally we are here and I'm really, really happy to be here with you.
You, Daniel Nagui, a multi-instrumentalist and singer born in Balj, Romania, and of course known by a wide range of audience. Your name are not only associated with the creation of Clouds, but also Union Sorrow, ex-Shape of Despair, ex-Eye of Solitude, Pantheist, God Eat God, Colossus, in which you appeared. Daniel, you are connected with the history of the gloomy, melancholic metal so much that one wall of a funeral chapel made up of funeral tunes. Daniel, how was it for you as a child or teenager to grow up, and did you got a lot of support from your parents or others to become a metal musician? One funny question, where did you get the nickname Clepsy from?
Righty. The nickname came from the word clepsydra, which in Romanian means hourglass. When I was a teenager, I had this very little hourglass, very, very tiny, that I was wearing around my neck. It was more like a pendant, more like an accessory. Well, it was unusual for someone to actually get a gadget like that. I actually got it somewhere in Belgium when I was about 14 years old. I just thought that it looked really nice and I just wore it around my neck. So a lot of people actually started calling me Clepsydra. And from that particular word, came the short of the word Clepsy, from Clepsydra. For me as a teenager, it was quite rough. Growing in a country like Romania where, let's say, music was not perceived as something quite natural, and especially the metal music, the harsher sort of music, it wasn't quite well seen by other people, narrow-minded people, and let's say people who recently came out of the communist sort of tyranny saw metal music as an association with the occult, an association with evil, and not necessarily something quite positive. It was really tough because, to be perfectly honest with you, my parents never gave me the support that I would have wanted at that very early age. So it was always the case of me hiding the music and hiding my passion for music and hiding the fact that I wanted to play a guitar or that I wanted to play the drums. It was quite tough because the support was never there. The support came a lot later when my parents saw that, okay, this guy is doing a pretty good job and he's not wasting his time on booze or drugs or partying or going out so many nights in a row. I would rather get my allowance and spend my allowance to buy drumsticks or to buy guitar strings. I never went out with my mates. I was kind of, let's say, antisocial, from one point of view, but it was never the antisocialism or the point of being antisocial that I don't want to go out. It was more like I preferred to dedicate my time to music and to trying to teach myself how to play music because I'm a self-taught musician. I didn't take any lessons for drums. I didn't take any lessons for guitars. I pretty much had to figure out everything by myself. It was really, really tough, especially because the conditions in the country were of such nature. In order to buy a drum kit, you would have probably needed both your parents' salaries for 2 months in a row, or to buy an electric guitar. So it was really tough. Music was never commercialized to the point of diversity. There was some music available, but it was never the type of music that anyone would want to listen to. So yeah, it was pretty damn tough.
Listen to this story that you went through and the battle that you had to fight. Yeah, I can see, knowing you, that you have conquered your wishes, your dream, and to become such a successful musician nowadays. Dan,
you're being too kind, to be perfectly honest with you. It's obviously a lot of the musicians would want to be more recognized, or they at least want their music to be known worldwide, to have a lot more coverage. But that is a very sensitive subject, to be perfectly be honest. And I think we would need probably 4 or 5 days in a row to actually talk about this particular subject. I think the notion of success belongs to a very broad spectrum and what it means for each of us to be successful. In order for me to be successful is to have, let's say, a range of listeners who would not only listen to the music, but understand the music. As you probably know, and I'm not saying you, but the audience that are listening to us right now, I'm pretty sure that they are extremely aware of the fact that doom music, this particular sub-branch of the metal industry, is a type of music that is for people who are really introverts, people who have been through some stuff in their lives. And the key to a successful, let's say, audience is the fact that your music correlates and resonates with those people's hearts and minds. That's pretty much it for me. Success for me doesn't mean financial stability, or it doesn't mean that I need to be featured on whatever posters of some big festivals and stuff like that. I would rather prefer having, let's say, 200 people in my audience and at my shows who are really connected to what's being done on stage and the music that is being performed on stage, rather than have 2,000 people, 200 listening, and the rest of 1,800 talking about beer, talking about women, talking about other bands, talking about how crap is the band on the stage and I don't want to be here. This is what I personally want from music.
Daniel, you're also part of this great band, Aeonian Sorrow, an international funeral doom band featuring Greek vocalist and songwriter Gogo Meloni. A selection of amazing Finnish musicians from bands like Red Moon Architect and Morbid Vomit. And you, Romanian multi-instrumentalist, as the band new drummer. How did you decide to start working with this band, Aeonian Sorrow, in replacement of Saku Molyanen, who was responsible for the recording, mixing, and mastering of this band's new EP?
To begin everything from the very start, Gogo was featured on a few songs from Clouds, and this collaboration still lasts as far as I'm concerned. And at this very moment, I can say we are very good friends, very close friends. So I was very interested in Aeonian Sorrow and the music that she wrote. And when it wasn't possible for Saku to play drums anymore, then I stepped in. It was a pleasure to do this, and it was an honor to start working with this bunch of musicians. They are extremely good musicians, first of all. And secondly, we became good friends and we can rely on each other when it comes to absolutely everything musical or non-musical related. Aeonian Sorrow is the type of music that I would listen to at home and is the type of music that I would play with pleasure absolutely every single time. I am not fully aware of what exactly happened with Saku, why he wasn't able to do this anymore. All I know is that he is still in charge with recording, mixing, mastering, something that he's extremely good at, because Aeonian Sorrow is not the only band that he's worked with. He's worked with Wolfheart, he's worked with other bands of this caliber. So Saku is an extremely good sound engineer. He's an extremely good producer. However, when the opportunity arose, I was offering my services to Aeonian Sorrow, and I'm very happy to say that I've done a very good thing by insisting of playing with them. So everything has been an enjoyable ride. We've had some really nice shows. We've had an incredible tour supporting Swallow the Sun on a European tour, and everything has been great ever since. So hopefully this is going to continue.
Okay, very great. I love the band. The band has just released a brand new EP, Alive Without, last January 27, 2020, with killer songs like The Endless Fall of Grief, One Love. How was this release been received by fans and critics so far then?
Yeah, it's something really supernatural that happens in this band. The previous album was an absolute success from my point of view as far as I'm being concerned. But on this EP, it was a bit different in terms of everyone brought a lot of outside elements to the table, and everyone started to write and to contribute to writing in a very awesome way. So in this particular case, when we started writing this EP, everything was a delight, and everyone came with ideas and everyone started to bring in their own input and their own influences. And I'm extremely happy to say that the band's direction can only go further up in terms of what everyone brings to the turntable and the elements and input that everyone brings to the band. So I'm extremely happy because of that.
Daniel, thank you very much for this great explanation about Union Sorrow and its great new EP, A Life Without. Next, we go over what we're here for. Clouds are an international atmospheric doom death metal band from in 2013 with members from United Kingdom, Finland, Netherlands, Faroe Islands, Belgium. How did the band started and how come you have chosen Clouds as the name for the band?
It's a very long story. Clouds started off as a few songs. I didn't even have a band name in mind when I first started. A very close family member passed away because of leukemia. At that very time, I could not say goodbye the proper way that I wanted to. And the moment I got home from the hospital, after seeing that very person pass away, I just sat in front of my computer and the very first song was written. And it was supposed to be a song that was meant to allow me to say goodbye. And that was You Went So Silent. Some whatever reason, that song ended up on YouTube. And that's when people started wondering, what is this? What's happening? Who is this? It looks like people liked that song very much, and I decided to write an entire album. And so I knew that I was going to write the album by myself, and if needed be, I could record the album by myself. However, I decided to invite a few people, let's say a few friends, a few fellow musicians that I had the utmost respect for, and people that I've been admiring for years and years, and I've never had the chance to collaborate with them. So I've presented a set of songs to these people, like for example, Jarno from Shape of Despair, Jon from Hamthird, Pim Blankenstein from Officium Trist, and Kostas from Pantheist. And these people really wanted to do this and really wanted to record the album. And at some point I had to figure out a band name, project name, because at that very point it wasn't even a band. So the only thing that I was ever fascinated with in my entire life were the clouds. The clouds in the sky can hold many secrets. They see everything that's happening on Earth. They see a lot of crap and they see a lot of bad stuff. They see a lot of good things. They see a lot of people. They see a lot of people's grief. They have the ability to morph and they have the ability to change shape. And there's something mysterious about clouds that always took my fascination to a whole different level. So this is something that I was extremely fascinated with, and that's where the name came from, Clouds. And that's how the band was born.
Very great. Thank you, Dan. Yeah, continue with this interview. Clouds as a very vague project in 2013, and since one EP and 5 full-length albums have been released under their logo. Started with the debut album Dolio in 2013. This album was dedicated to the departed ones, loved ones who now are no longer among us. The second album, Departe, in 2016, this album was dedicated to Anita Nicoleta.
Yes.
The third album, an EP, Destin, 2017. In 2018, Adore. In 2019, Adore 2. All the albums were created in a unifying funeral style with great melodic themes, graded by fantastic instrumentation. The band's lineup changes in each change release. Clouds were sung by Faroese Bat John Aldara Baron Earth, Finnish vocalist Mikko Kotamaki, Swallow the Sun, Pim Blankenstein, Officium Trist, Natalie Koskinen, Shape of Despair, and Cocomelon, Union Sorrow. Daniel, what has all these great releases meant for the band, and how was it working with all these great musicians?
The releases, the music was never made because we had to make music. This is one thing that differentiates Clouds from probably any other band. We never had to write music because we had to release an album, or because we had a contract with the label, or because we found necessary to release an album. No, the music was written because the soul dictated this. I personally never had to write music for Clouds if I didn't have the right inspiration and if I didn't have the right state of mind and the right emotions to actually write this sort of music. And this is something I will stress all the time. and I will underline with each occasion, Clouds is not a band that would write music just because they need to write music. Clouds is a band that wants to write music. If time goes by for, 6, 7 years, and if I have nothing to say, I will never release music with Clouds just because I have to release something new. No, this is never going to happen. So this is kind of the philosophy of the entire concept of the band Clouds. I've never had to struggle to write music. The music came so simple, and the music made so much sense to me in terms of emotions, in terms of what I want to transmit, what kind of message would I like to send to people, and what kind of impact would it have on people. And so far, the impact that it actually did have on people was that one that people found themselves in absolutely everything they listened to. All the music that we've released with this particular band, all the music that I've released with this particular project was always received as fighting fire with fire, a sort of way to conquer emotions, to conquer something that's going really bad in someone's life. And probably the only terminology that I can find right now is literally this one, fighting fire with fire. That's it, pure and simple. In terms of working with musicians, it was extremely easy because all of these musicians that we've collaborated with are extremely professional musicians, and I've never had to say anything to them, any sort of guidance. I've always told people that really wanted to work with Clouds, I've told them, you know what, this is the song. You do whatever you feel, not whatever you want. You do whatever you feel. If you feel like you want to sing like this, absolutely fine. I've got no problem with it. I don't want to give you directions on how to sing. I don't want to give you directions on what to sing and how you should perform it. This has to come from you. If you want to write your own lyrics, absolutely fine. I've got no problem with it. You write whatever you want and consider this song to be something that gives you the opportunity to let it all out. Everything negative, everything positive, all the good memories, all the bad memories, all the people that have come in your life or that left from your life, put it all there. And that's exactly how we've continued the collaboration all throughout the years.
I had this great opportunity to interview, I think was a couple months ago this year, Pim Blankenstein of Fishing Trees about their album just released last year, The Death of Gaja. What a great guy, I must say, Daniel.
He's an absolutely amazing vocalist, first of all. He's a very good friend, and at the utmost, he is a fantastic human being. I have nothing but words of praise.
Continue with this interview, Daniel. Could you please present us the band current lineup?
Yes, the current lineup is myself as vocalist and orchestrator. We have Mihai Dinuță as our rhythm guitar. We have Indy Rehalsagu as lead guitars. We have Alex on bass. We have Luca on drums, and we have Irina on violins.
Okay, thank you. Clouds' upcoming new album, Durere, will be released on April 27th, 2020, independently. As with your own words, Daniel, this album represents a part of the soul going to another soul. Daniel, could you please present us the album tracking list?
This particular album is written in my father's memory. My father passed away of cancer in July. And as I said, we never write music because we need to write music. This album is something that I had to do to portray some of the things that someone deals with when one of their parents dies. And even though this is not a very uncommon thing, this is not something extremely unnatural, we all have to go through it. It really depends how you go through it and what are the circumstances that create this kind of conjuncture. Yes, this album is called Durere because in Romanian, durere means pain. Obviously, it refers to both physical pain and it refers to emotional pain, a very fragile mental state, and so on and so forth. So the very first track is called Cold Guiding Light. And it refers to the light that we basically need to follow once we pass away. It's something that still leads humanity to believe that you will need to follow a sort of light at the end of the tunnel. So you can go either up or down or be stuck in limbo forever. This is exactly what the song is referring to. Empty Hearts, again, is a very literal name. It's something that leaves you empty-hearted once something really bad happens. And of course, these sort of happenings, like losing a parent, losing a friend, losing a partner, losing anyone who's very close to you can leave anyone empty-hearted. The third track is called Images and Memories. Again, very literal title. And it talks about the memories you would have with a certain someone that is no longer amongst us. It's the good, the bad memories. It's a sort of melancholic and nostalgic even kind of song. The predominance in this particular song are clean vocals. There's very little distortion. It has a very dreamy kind of vibe, of a dreamy sort of atmosphere. Very calm and very nostalgic. The fourth song is probably the most meaningful song with the most meaningful name, at least for me, and it's called Above the Sea. In many cultures, the soul travels. Once a person dies, their soul travels for 40 days and it goes to places that very person has been or places they would want to go in their lifetime, but they didn't have the chance to. And the way that I've portrayed and the way that I've actually done this, let's say the amalgamus of ideas, was that waves are the best elements that could carry a person's soul. So that's why the soul travels above the sea. It's above the sea and high above the mountains. And as I said, it's the most meaningful song. The next one is called The Sailor Waves Goodbye, and it's a metaphor literally leaving this world. This world is extremely cruel and it's not a good place for us. My personal opinion is that we humans, we should not be on this planet because we're destroying it too much. However, imagining a sailor that leaves their family and their children and everyone close to leave for like 1 or 2 years. I've actually transcended the analogy of the title to the fact that someone actually waves goodbye. Someone actually gets to say their goodbyes once they die. And this is what this song is all about. My father's death is literally the song that I've written for my father, and it doesn't need any sort of introduction. And the very last song of the album is called The End of Hope. And again, it's a very literal adaptation of what the title means. The end of hope is when you feel empty and alone, and when you feel like another soul and another light has gone from your life. The entire album has this aspect of saying goodbye. Just like with All Clouds music, for me personally, it gives me strength to go over particular events in my life. And I'm not referring to the good events, but the really bad events in my life. Unfortunately, I've been the kind of person who was surrounded by death and surrounded by a lot of people who now are no longer alive from different reasons and for different reasons. Whether it be suicide, whether it be terminal illnesses and so on and so forth. So it is quite hard for me to talk about this album because it's the most personal album I've ever had to release, and it is the most personal set of songs that I've ever had to write.
Daniel, I want to thank you very much for describing us the album tracking list. Durere is dedicated to your father, Daniel. And it talks about a lot coping with loss and going through all stages of grief caused by the loss of our loved ones. This album was recorded, mixed and mastered in Romania at the studio by you, Daniel.
Yes.
I want to take the time to really give you my respect for the loss of your father and give you the words of courage, strength for these hard moments, can I say? Yes. Daniel, how long and how emotional was the writing process and the making of the music been, and how was the working gone in the studio for the recording, mixing, and mastering?
Writing the music was a very easy process. Writing the music was something that always happens when I'm writing music for Clouds, and that was extremely natural. The album was written, I think, less than a week. The recording of the album was divided between a few members. I have to be honest, I've recorded the majority of the instruments when it comes to keyboards, drums, and some of the guitars, just because I wanted a particular vibe on this album. However, lead guitars, violins, flutes, bass guitars, all of those were recorded by the people in the band. I currently live somewhere in central Romania, which is somewhere in the mountains, surrounded by mountains, and the majority of the other people in the band is somewhere up north of the country. So the travel wasn't too hard. They all came down, they recorded their parts. The mixing and the mastering process were extremely easy, just because I have stereotypes and I have certain patterns, certain chains, certain mixing chains for the instruments that I've used for other albums. So from this point of view, everything was extremely simple and extremely easy. The heavy part and the most difficult part was listening to these songs all over and over again. It's just because they reminded me so much of what actually happened and why this album was written and why this album was recorded. However, everything else I can say was quite simple.
Who was responsible in doing the album cover artwork, and how about the album itself? In how many formats will this be available, and how about the limited wooden box?
Yes, the artworks for all the albums, some of them were made by myself. 2 of them were made by a very good friend. His name is Arthur Kornovic, and he's made the cover for Departe and for the EP Destin. He's been in charge with making this. To be perfectly honest, these 2 artworks came from 2 of his photographs. Arthur is a very well-known photographer in Romania. He does some amazing artworks. However, for Doliu, Dor, and Durere, the layout was being done by myself. The photography for the latest album, Durere, was done by our former guitarist. His name is Xander Kozaczuk, and we had, as a model for this photography, we've had our drummer's Luca's wife, Eva. Now, the layout, when I mean layout, this means an entire package as the front cover, the back cover, the inlay, the panels, and so on and so forth. So when I'm saying front cover, that belongs to someone. When I'm saying layout, that belongs to myself, because I myself have worked on that layout. Durere will be available in 4 formats, actually, and those would be the wooden boxes, which I am actually working right now on, so okay. You can actually see.
Great.
Actually, to make it even better and to make the appealing even better, if you can actually see right now, these are the slices of wood that I am using to make the boxes.
Okay, very great.
Yes, it's not actually very great because I am still waiting for materials that I need to work with, and because of the coronavirus, the materials are not being shipped.
It's very unique then.
It is indeed. As I was saying, I'm struggling right now and I'm being stuck with work because I'm actually trying to complete the boxes and I'm trying to make them as soon as possible. But because of this BS, obviously we're not going to say curse words on radio, because of the coronavirus situation, not too many companies actually choose to ship within the normal circumstances. So we will have the wooden boxes with the CD. We will have the regular digipack, which is it's a 4-panel digipack and a 6-page booklet. And we have a double version of the LP, the vinyl, which is a double album. It's a double disc, double vinyl, black and red version.
I've seen the picture of the red one. What a beautiful red vinyl.
Thank you. It's actually something I'm very proud of myself. And obviously this thing wouldn't have been able without the help of our good friends from the vinyl division from Spain. They are the only label we actually work with. And that's because we worked together from the release of our very first album on vinyl. And since then, everything has been going exactly as planned with absolutely no problems. And we've actually become good friends. So big shout out to our friends from the vinyl division.
Cloud has officially released on March 10, 2020, the video for the song called Guiding Light, and on March 26, 2020 for the track Empty Heart. Is there something you like to share with the audience about these two videos?
Yes, of course. This is actually a good time to mention who Razvan is. Besides being a very good friend, Razvan is actually my colleague and band member from another band called Abigail in Romania. Abigail is the very first doom band in Romania. The band is almost 25 years old, and I feel the necessity to bring Abigail into discussion because with Abigail, we are about to release an album as well. So yes, the videos were done by Razvan Alexandru, one lyric video and one studio video. They're both something that we wanted this to happen, and we are extremely happy we've done them because I can say that Empty Heart is the very first, let's say, professional video that we've done in our entire career, 7 years career. And they're both done by someone who's a real professional.
Talking about videos, Daniel, on March 26, the band did an 8-musician vocal collaboration for the 2020 single The Path of Sorrow that has been in the making for the last year. What can you tell us about this collaboration and whom were all those musicians you work with?
The Path of Sorrow has indeed been a project that we've been working for the past year. When we released our previous album, Dor, and because it was a double album, we've actually realized a competition, and we've put up a competition online, a vocal contest, if you will, and we've presented one song, and people who wanted to participate, they basically took the song and they interpreted the song in their own way and then sent us back the version. That contest was won by a really talented guy from the States. His name is Caleb Bergen, and that song was featured on our second disc of Dor. Now, because we've had quite a few people who we liked very, very, very much, and their versions of the songs were extremely good, we didn't want to leave them behind, and we didn't want to leave them out of the entire equation. So I went back to those people and I've come up with a proposition. I've asked them, would you like to come together as a group and work on one very, very long song? Surprisingly, the people agreed, and they formed a group, they formed a collective, they formed a group online where they started discussing ideas, where they started discussing little bits and pieces where each other's voices would fit, and they basically worked on this song all by themselves without any sort of coordination by myself. I was just responsible with writing the song that we're singing on, and a year later, all of these guys, they worked together and they've realized and they've achieved something extremely, extremely good, something that no other band has actually done before. And I can say this with the utmost respect because none of the bands in our sphere, in the metal sphere, has actually done anything like this. Offer the chance to a group of people to work on one song, come together as a group, as a totalitarian unit, and to actually achieve something that actually never anyone has achieved before. These people are either singers from different bands in Europe, or they are people who don't work in any band at all. Music is just a passion for them, and the people who collaborated on this particular song are Jakub from Panzerhund and Somnium Lacrime. We have Drew Novak from Moonspire. We have 2 Italian members. We have Valerio from Roman Monochrome, and we have Maurizio from Ghost Heart Nebula. We have Margarita, who doesn't play in any band, and we have Julia, who she plays with Sidus Atrium. We have Jarmo from Finland, who plays in Lead Wings and Atrium's Tempestas. And last but not least, we have Javier from Mexico, who plays in a band called In Memoriam.
Okay. The minute I discovered this on YouTube, I was captured by this great collaboration of vocals doing this great song, Daniel.
It's been something, I need to stress this out because this has been something totally amazing to get people who have not ever met each other, who have not ever spoken to each other, or if they did, they were speaking way too little. Everything was fantastic union. Everything was an absolutely amazing thing. And again, I need to stress out that this has never, ever been done by anyone in metal.
Okay, continue with this great interview. Upcoming events on May 9th at Club Quantic in Bucharest, Romania, will be a double album release celebration. Clouds and Abigail with Saturnus playing as well on May 23rd at the Volume Club in Kyiv, Ukraine. On September 26th for Darken the Moon 12 in Ghent, Belgium. Yes, looking the disaster around the world going on now with this COVID-19. Daniel, what can you tell us about these upcoming shows?
At this very moment, things are extremely uncertain. This is all I can say. All I can hope now, and all I can hope for this entire thing is to be over as quick as possible, and also to make way for things to be developed and to continue being developed as normal. Of course, we are being struck by this entire thing, and every single band out there is being struck by this entire thing. And there's no other way but waiting and seeing what happens in terms of live shows. For the Romanian show, we are actually going to reschedule this entire release, and we are going to try and find a suitable date to make the show happen. However, as I said, at this very moment, everything is being left out in uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen unless we as humans actually work together towards trying to beating this virus thing and have the restrictions lifted. Otherwise, I can't see anything good happening from this.
We are locked down.
Yeah, exactly. All of us are being locked down. Like here in Romania, we are in lockdown, and it looks like we will be in lockdown for another month from now until May 15th. So yeah, it's going really, really bad.
Doom is a very powerful style, and a few bands can weave it as both sorrow and deadly as Clouds. Durare is a moment of sorrow, of personal power and search for one's own truth, the search for the meaning of life after death, after loss. Very high quality work by Clouds, who in very beautiful way with collective synchronicity transfer their own pain into pure beauty, lined with a gloomy atmosphere and a somehow soothing way. Besides the shows already scheduled, what else will the band be doing for summer, fall, or end of 2020?
At this very moment, we are working very hard to be unified within the conditions that we are in right now. We're trying to communicate as much as possible, and we're trying to make little bits and pieces so we can show people that we are still here, and at least try to offer some sort of activity online, because none of us, well, let me put it this way, because not all of us are living in the same place. It's very, very hard for us to actually offer a streaming show.
Yeah.
It's really impossible for us to do that. However, we are thinking and we are brainstorming for ideas to see exactly what we can do in terms of just keeping the people hooked up and keeping the people electrified in terms of what we are doing. For the autumn and winter, we are obviously trying to see what's happening with the situation out there, and then try to build up a different plan and to see what other gigs could be rescheduled and what other gigs can actually be done. At this very moment, there's not much we can do, unfortunately.
Daniel, I want to thank you very much to have made this interview possible, and I want to hand you over the microphone of Madame Messiah Radio for you to invite all your fans to support the band, to buy the band's earlier albums, and to buy this great new masterpiece, Durare, and also to check the band's merchandise. Talking about merchandises, do you already have merchandises available? I mean, talking about with this great new album artwork on?
Yes, we have the official album t-shirt, which is available on our Bandcamp page. There are CDs still available. Unfortunately, the LPs have all been exhausted, so there's no chance for LPs at this very moment. However, what we've done, we've included some special t-shirts on the Bandcamp page at some very special prices, so it's worth checking them out. And obviously, who wants to get us on Bandcamp will obviously benefit of some very nice little things. it's worth checking it out. The address is cloudsofficial.bandcamp.com.
Okay. A last question that I still have in mind. Wasn't mentioned to ask, but I cannot leave without asking. This album released independently. Are you looking for a record label?
No, we will never look for record labels. This is actually one of the things that we will never want to do. Well, it's a vast subject to discuss. However, Clouds was never born to be commercial. Clouds was never born as a means of funds, as a means of financial gain. No, Clouds was literally the kind of band that exists with the very minimum amount of finances that helps us create more music, buy more instruments, and buy more gear when it comes to mixing and mastering. It's the kind of band that never wants to become a business. And the moment you belong to a label, you basically belong to a business. And I do not believe in that. Not with Clouds.
Daniel, the microphone of Mad Messiah Radio is all yours to thank whomever you want to thank.
I would firstly like to thank you, the Vampire and Bloodshed, for the opportunity of allowing me to say a few words. Obviously, I would like to thank Metal Messiah Radio. I would very much like to thank the people who listen to us, the people who support us. I would say unconditionally. I would like to thank all the people who helped us in our very struggle of creating something really special for the masses. And last but not least, I would like to thank my band members for being the amazing people they are.
Okay, before we leave, Daniel, I kindly ask you to say hi to all and each of your band members.
Yes, of course. I would like to give a shout out to Irina, Luca, Mike, Indy, and Alex.
Thank you very much. Okay, and like I always say, metal on. Bye-bye.
Metal on. Bye-bye now.